mentioned that we were thinking about adoption, she just said, go straight to St. David's because they're the best. And so we didn't even explore anywhere else. We just
looked on the website, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, this looks like the right kind of place for us. It was very positive. It's very warm.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what we wanted.
I'm Bruce. I am a dad, an art teacher, and a panel member. And myself and my partner, Kian, adopted with St. David's about 10 years ago.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Claire, and together with St. David's we adopted a little boy.
So we're Brian and Mark.
And we're dads to 2 boys, and recently we've adopted our 3rd son with St. David's.
I'd wanted to start a family for a long, long time, and Kian was always very reticent about it. And I think he was right, because we weren't really at that point in our lives where I think adoption was really right for us. I think we were still kind of not particularly adult enough to be parents, and it was weird. One summer, a friend of ours had a baby, and it was like a little switch in Kian's head, and he just suddenly decided, oh, Daisy's been born, I want this. And from that moment, we kind of just decided, yeah, we're going to look into it. We started doing a little bit of research online. We quickly came across St. David's and phoned. So we didn't really speak to many other people. It was St. David's. They seemed very, I don't know, the ethos and everything was kind of, it felt right for us. So we made that call.
I think we'd looked at fostering and adoption, and we realised that there were lots and lots of kids who we could do something for. We didn't necessarily want to go down a system whereby we were trying to have children that were
I think that
biologically
we
ours.
didn't. It wasn't important to us that they were genetically related,
No.
was it? We were genetically related to them, and because of our previous experiences with fostering, I think it was obvious that there were loads of kids who needed somewhere really nice to live,
Well,
and we could offer them that.
Yeah.
But also, we wanted another child, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
So,
but we also didn't want social workers around quite as much, so it would be more us ourselves, because I don't think we needed the level of support that we had previously,
no.
because we were quite confident by then.
Yeah, we definitely didn't. And so I think it was just a logical choice for us, I think, wasn't it? I don't think we had many really big discussions about it. It was kind of like,
No.
do we want another kid? Yes.
Yes. How are we going to do that?
Adoption.
Yeah. Is it fostering or adoption? Definitely adoption.
Yeah.
Because
So we didn't even consider any of the other options, really,
no,
for us. It wasn't important.
it's the right one.
Yeah.
In terms of adoption, I remember really vividly not the day that we decided adoption was for us.
But
I
having
think
that conversation.
Yeah, but having that conversation. I remember our first phone call to St. David's, but we'd had fertility treatment
3 years,
throughout
was it?
from like 2017 to 2019, and then we went away to Barcelona for Christmas. We were away for Christmas. We just thought like fertility treatment had been really difficult. We just wanted to get away, and then that's when we really had those conversations that like adoption had always been there, hadn't it, as a way to kind of become a
we'd all
family.
discussed it. Obviously, being 2 women, unless there's a son coming to Christ, we didn't have many options, did we? So we tried fertility treatment. It was hard,
really
very hard. And long story short, they were going to change the treatment method, and we just talked about it, didn't we? And just decided we didn't want to go through there.
Yeah, so we
looked into adoption.
And COVID obviously happened, and I remember being sat. So I was working throughout COVID, and I remember sat in my office at work with nothing around me because it was like the first week of April or something like that. So still like massively into lockdown. And I just thought I'll make those phone calls now. And I had a phone call with our regional adoption service from where we live. And I had a phone call with St.
Claire
David's.
did all the hard work.
Yeah. And I think I said to you, didn't I? They just knew from that very first phone call, and then things happened quite quickly. I think from that phone call in terms of follow-up from, like, I think it felt like it was only a couple of days that somebody from St. David's then gave us a call back,
Yeah,
and we had that like initial chat just about like...
What was the lady's name?
Joy.
Joy, that was
Yeah.
it. Her name was Joy, yeah. And she was lovely.
We just knew, didn't we? We just knew that was...
Something just clicked.
right.
I don't know what it was. Like Claire said, it all happened quite quickly. And as soon as we met Joy, then we just knew that, yeah, that's what we wanted to do.
I don't think there was any seminal moment when we decided, but we just kind of, through little conversations and things, knew that as they were getting older and needed us less, that we had the capacity for to add another one.
Well, we loved having kids in the house.
Yeah.
If you think about the middle lad now,
Yeah.
we'd have all of his friends over, like 9 boys from his class,
Yeah.
all running around the house and garden, shooting each other with Nerf guns and
Yeah.
things like that. And I suppose that didn't faze us.
No.
And you doing things like putting mattresses on the stairs and at the bottom of the stairs to make slides.
Yeah.
Yeah. And me at the
Health
bottom.
and safety.
Yeah, panicking.
Nightmare.
Gang of 9-year-olds all sliding down there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were used to having lots of kids around.
Yeah.
And it was that feeling as well, I think, that you just want to do as much for as many kids as you can.
Yeah. But also for us, I mean, it wasn't a wholly selfless act.
No.
We wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
And so, but we so we started having those conversations with the boys quite early on about the possibility of adding another one. And initially it was kind of no.
Nope.
Well, it was a definite no. But then that kind of softened and turned into okay, maybe.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I'm okay with that. But then we started the process of the adoption process, and it became apparent probably a few months in that they actually weren't really on board with it.
They just had some worries, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because it was the uncertainty.
Again,
idea
it's the uncertainty, yeah. So, but we had made it very clear from the outset, haven't we, that they were our priority, and if we couldn't adopt, if they didn't want it to happen, it wasn't going to happen. So we stopped the process, didn't we?
We did.
The adoption
We
process.
did 2 things then, didn't we?
Yeah, and then our social worker got us adoption buddies who had kids around the same age as we were looking for.
Yeah.
So we spent some time with them, going out on weekends and stuff.
That was
And-
great because it
Yeah.
really made a difference with the boys. Because I remember at one point, the middle one, we were in a trampoline park,
Yeah.
and the 2 boys were like little velociraptors
They kept
surrounding him
stealing
on
his
the
shoes.
sides, stealing his huge shoes and running off with them. And then he was
Well, he
playing
thought it
with
was
them.
hilarious, didn't he?
Yeah,
was
he loved it.
Yeah. And then we also did some respite care. So
Yeah.
we had someone who needed a child of similar age to the boys who needed somewhere to stay temporarily. So we did that, and then they got an experience of having another child in the house and what that would be like. So after that, it all changed then, didn't it? And they were like, actually, do you know what? It's not such a bad thing, and there could be some real positives to this. So we restarted the process again.
Well, it didn't take away our time with them, did it?
No, and I think they saw that.
Yeah.
That actually they didn't really lose anything, and they could
Gained a
gain
little bit
quite
of
a
freedom as well.
Yeah, we're not so focused on them anymore. They can get away with a bit more.
This was 10 years ago, so I think it's a lot more prevalent now. But I think for a lot of adoption agencies and a lot of local authorities, maybe it was still quite new, and so We were worried because, you know, as gay men who've experienced prejudice, especially in school, you know, we grew up during the times of Section 28, you know, and it's a worry about what other people are going to think and about how other people are going to treat you and whether actually you're going to be treated fairly in terms of adoption, because there are still a lot of kind of, the only word for it is bigoted views that same-sex families are wrong. And, you know, we didn't want to come across any of that, you know, so, you know, that is a worry, that is a thought that possibly adoption agencies had that. So from the get-go, we put at ease about those worries by St David's. We didn't at one point feel that our family setup would be seen as anything other than anybody else's. We were happy that actually everybody that we met and everybody that we spoke to and every experience that we had through St David's was a very positive, nurturing one, and that we realised very early on through the people that we talked to that St David's were on our side and wanted us to become a family and wanted us to go through that process and learn about ourselves and learn about how we would parent.
We've got a friend who had adopted, and obviously chatted to him. Didn't I chatted to him just about the process? So I felt like we knew a little bit about the adoption process, just having lived his experience kind of the last couple of years. And he mentioned St David's, didn't he, to me?
Yeah, we've got adoption in...
His words were, St David's are really good for the gays. That's what he said to me. But actually...
that was genuinely that was a big reason as to why
it was probably the reason. He'd had friends who had gone through St David's and had a really, really positive experience, and he himself didn't use St David's but had kind of recommended, hadn't he? So that's why we made that phone call. And I think in terms of that feel of it just feeling right, I think I think from the phone call with the local authority agency, it just felt a little bit more formulaic, where there was a definite warmth that came through even on a phone call with St David's. And I think whether that was because of the preconceived ideas that we'd had, that we knew that they would really support us as a gay couple, whether it was my own preconceived ideas because I'm a massive fan of charity in the third sector and feel that what St David's do, they just deliver really it with kind of a real heart rather than they're doing it because they need to do it.
I think you're always wary, aren't you? If you're a gay couple, you're always on a kind of alert when you go into something new or unusual or different, because you're not sure how people are going to treat you, if there's going to be some kind of prejudice coming through.
You're half vigilant about it, and that makes you a little bit more cautious about things. But I don't think we had any specific preconceptions about adoption. It was just normal levels of hypervigilance around that. So and our experience was very positive, I have to say, wasn't it?
I think as well, when you first take the children to school and meet other parents and things like that, there's always that sort of strained conversation
where they're trying to find out where mum is.
Yes. And that becomes quite funny after a while. When people dropping off for parties and things like that.
Yeah.
Just say hello to your wife. No, you won't.
They always expect you to be married as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So those are the two things that you get, is like that people assume you're married because you have kids, and people assume your partner is female.
Yeah. So I always say my husband. I make it
you're
clear
very good
right
at that.
from the start.
I'm a little bit more ambiguous because I quite like that.
When we were having fertility treatment, I was the one having the physical treatment, and I'd always wanted to be pregnant, like physically be pregnant. So for me, a big preconceived thing was how, this sounds awful, but how am I going to love a child that I didn't birth in that same way? I mean, I used to be a teacher. I taught 4 and 5 year olds, you know, and I loved every single child I ever taught. I never disliked any of the children. But it's different when they're coming home and you know, you're becoming their parent. So that was a big thing for me. But I will say that now that our little boy is home, I thought I'd have a little pang, you know, like, oh, I never gave birth. And I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. I just think, I don't understand how we could possibly love him anymore. Yeah, and then you do, don't you?
Yeah.
Every week it feels like you love him more. But yeah, so that was a big thing for me.
We always said throughout the process, didn't we, that I'm the one who thinks, this did go on its head a little bit, but I'm the one who kind of thinks
with your head.
With my head, and you're the one who thinks with your heart.
Yeah, and
until,
then when we went in
until
the process,
he came along.
Yeah, and then when we went into the process, we just shocked each other.
It completely switched. So I think, in those early days, it was probably, I don't want to say it was me leading it, but I think it was me just kind of like...
I think you were, but not in... I think that was a good thing. We needed one of us to sort of lead it.
We knew we could probably do it, but we'd never done it before, and it was like I never spent extended periods of time with children or had them in our home for extended periods of time. But also you had come into contact with a lot of kids who were in care.
Yeah, I had, and I think that prompted me as well, because I saw lots of kids who were in care, and I just thought, well, we can probably make a difference for these children.
Yeah, we could provide them with a really stable, warm, loving home, I think.
Yeah,
and
that's what we
that
wanted.
was the main driver. And then it was like, well, we're a bit older and we're not hugely confident about how our skill set in this realm. So it was like, maybe we could do some short-term fostering and see what that's like, and then maybe think about more longer-term stuff after that.
Yeah, but within a week, that was it, wasn't it?
It was just, that was the
case of the children arriving, and that was it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh God, no, I can't think about you.
Yeah,
going somewhere
and it was
else.
3 months initially, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then it was 6 months, and then it was like, that's it. Then they stay with you.
Yeah, that was
forever.
quite hard, because we were doing things like putting together photo albums for
Yeah.
them and collections of all the things that we'd done, thinking, oh gosh, they
Preparing
could be
to
going
Rehab them back.
in a couple of weeks, and then a sort of sigh of relief when they weren't.
I've got adoption in the family. My
Yeah.
birth father was adopted and my auntie was adopted, my mum's sister. But like, we talked to my nan about it, my nan and granddad. They went to the adoption agency, said, can we have a baby? And 6 weeks later, they had a baby. So like, it's completely alien to them,
Yeah.
what we've gone through. It's been nice sharing that with my grandparents, isn't it? Although sometimes we have to just stop talking, because you can see my nan trying to compute what we're telling her, just cannot get her head around it, because it's such a different process.
Yeah, I don't think we
But-
massively researched anything, did we? Obviously, we
No,
had the
But
information
then I think we've done a lot of that the whole way through. We've
Yeah.
sort of stopped ourselves from researching too much and just like learning as we go, because otherwise you could be on the internet forever. And
I think something, again, I go back to a piece of advice that my friend gave me, was just to take one step at a time, and that is probably the best advice that you could give somebody starting out in the adoption process, because you think you get past kind of one little bit or one hurdle, and then there's another one. I think it is just kind of breaking the adoption journey up into little bits, and just kind of keep doing one step at a time. And then that was reiterated, wasn't it, particularly by Sue throughout the process. It was just kind of one step at a time.
it's quite yes,
Which is really hard to do, because you're just constantly thinking about the
it's really hard.
the outcome at the end of it.
Yeah,
But
especially when you're like somebody who's got a sore throat and you Google it, and then and suddenly like your head's falling off. But
Yeah.
Sue used to say that all the time, one step at a time.
Yeah, when she was sometimes telling us off when we were getting too ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, but then, like Claire said, at the very early stages happened quite quickly. So we spoke to Joy, and then it was really quick that we went on our initial training, wasn't it?
Yes, that was
The 3-day training.
July. So that would be July
Yeah.
2020. We had the 3 days training online.
And that was brilliant. We were so excited, weren't we? That's
Yeah.
when we found out most, I think. And we were just raring to go after that.
Yeah, I think it was that was really interesting though, because remember, like a couple of people had said to us that they didn't feel like we'd learn anything during that because of your background as a teacher, and me working kind of in like
Yeah.
behaviour support and stuff like that.
Yeah, we went in thinking, oh, we know everything.
Yeah.
don't we?
Well, no, I think
Idiots.
people said that. People said that
People said it to us,
to
yeah.
us that that, oh, it's a good experience, but I don't know how much that you'll get from it. Whereas actually, we got so
Oh,
much
gosh, yeah.
from that. I
We
think
learned so much.
we were really lucky with the group of people that we were doing the training with, and the trainer was just fantastic.
Oh, it was her
and
last ever trip.
it was the
What was her
last-
name?
Mary.
Mary, yes.
Just-
I think
just
she's a bit of a
incredible,
legend.
her knowledge was, and her stories, it just
Yeah.
that kind of almost ignited that fire, didn't it? We knew that we'd made the right
We made-
choice.
yeah.
And adoption was definitely the way forward.
Can I go home now then?
You can't.